Okay, welcome back to the Road to Retirement. My name is Chris Anselmo here with Tony Shore, our co-host in crime. How you doing today, Tony?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Are we going to start things off today, Chris, by talking some baseball?
Well,
Cleveland and Minnesota, or
I don't, I the Kansas City was in town the last few
yeah,
days. It wasn't pretty for us. I think we're still up one game, but we were up
yeah,
like 8 games about a month ago.
yes,
Now it's not bad. I didn't look where the Minnesota Twins are, but
yeah, we're down a couple, but
yeah. But, it's all good. But, yeah, I'm supposed to go to game to, Friday. My
oh,
brother
fun.
my brother and I, share some season tickets with really good seats. We have front row seats at third base side, so try to take a bunch of clients and stuff, and so one of my best friend is originally from Steubenville, which is near Pittsburgh in Ohio, and so he's a Pirates fan, so they're in town this weekend, so we're gonna go. So, what have you been doing? Anything fun and exciting?
Huh, not much, not much. Yeah, the Twins. It's the Guardians, then the Royals, and then the Twins. So we're down quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a few points behind. Yeah,
Yeah, and
so
there was a rain out, so they had to play a couple, double headers over the weekend and stuff, so
yeah,
but it's, and I love baseball, that's my passion, but
yeah.
there's too many games.
Yep, I still agree. They
Yeah,
need to I know they've done a lot to speed up the games, and I think that really
I mean,
helped.
there's just too and there's, 162 games. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's too
other
many.
like football's got 17, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yep.
all right,
Yep.
so we, talked a little bit off air, we thought we'd talk about big retirement mistakes, so I had actually wrote a little article, a few years ago for a local paper here, but so we'll go over some of those, and I'm sure you hear from other advisors too. Things have changed.
Yeah.
Especially with the inflation that's happened. I don't care where you are; things cost more, right?
Oh, especially groceries, healthcare,
I mean, nobody wants to say it
outrageous.
about groceries, but I don't do any of our grocery shopping. But I went in. I don't know, it's got to be a couple months ago. My wife was feeling under the weather, says, I'm just going to go buy some lunch meat and some tomatoes and onion. We'll just have
Yeah.
sandwiches. I'm like, tomatoes, $5 a pound. I'm like,
Yeah.
my family's been in produce for like 100 years. I'm like, my
Yeah.
dad would roll over my grave if I bought a tomato for $5 a pound. So,
I know.
um, so we didn't get tomatoes that day. I mean, I can
Yeah.
afford it, but it's just the principle of the thing.
Yeah,
So
it is groceries are outrageous. They
yeah,
went up and in the last,
it's
5
got to be
years.
50%. In 5 years, it probably went up 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I saw a little, lack of a better word, cartoon that what was the most expensive vehicle last year, and it was a grocery cart. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's funny. That is perfect. That is exactly right. I mean, I can't believe how crazy from meat to vegetables to, especially the fresher foods, they're just
yeah,
outrageously expensive
and
now.
again, my brother's in the produce business, and he's a
Yeah.
large company, and they have probably 80, 85 trucks on the road. So he says just the fuel is just killing them.
Yeah.
Diesel fuels is still $4 or $5 a gallon, right?
Yeah.
So,
Diesel's
how much
expensive.
diesel fuel, I haven't really asked, does it take to get a semi across the country, from California to here, right? And now that people are, hate to say, used to paying these higher prices, that can affect people in retirement, especially people who
Well,
have,
sure.
uh,
Yeah,
uh,
because those prices aren't gonna come back down.
and people are on fixed incomes. Their incomes didn't go up 50%. So when they're
No.
used to paying $2 a pound for tomatoes, and now they're paying $5 a pound for tomatoes. I guess they're not eating tomatoes, right? So
Right.
all that. So the first thing I had on my list, and it's generally the number one, is people I didn't save enough,
That's the
right?
biggest retirement regret people have is not saving enough.
So
Yeah.
I wrote a little article and said, look, you got to start saving early and hard, and I mean, and
Save
I
early,
understand,
save often.
yeah, and we were disciplined enough, my wife and I, that once we put our money away, we use Charles Schwab. So once we put our money away in Charles Schwab from day one, we've never taken a penny out. Come hell or high water, we're not taking a penny out. So if you want, I mean, you could just do the hard math. If you're 50, you got to save hard. Like if you want to be a millionaire at the time you're 60, you got to save harder, right? I mean, you have to save
Right.
100 grand a year.
Yeah.
You just do the math. So if you're young enough, you want to start saving 10, 50, and just put away as much as you can. You don't have to have the 6,000 square foot house when you're 35 years old, right?
Right.
So, um, so you really, that the first thing is save more and save more often, um, and don't try to really time the market. We talked in other shows. You just have to be in. You're going to have ups and downs, and you're young enough that the market generally always recovers, right?
Hmm.
So, and just the part of everyone's making more, everyone's earning more, prices are going to go up, so the economy should be okay. We won't get political and say who to vote for, but actually, I think the economy does the best when there's stagnation in Congress, right? So when
Right. That's what they say.
no
That's what they
party has
say.
both houses, it
Yeah.
seems to do better. So,
Yeah. When there's gridlock, the market does better.
well, yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
well, unfortunately, the I don't care what side of the table you're on, the government just spends a lot of money.
Oh, it's
They don't,
outrageous.
they don't,
And they never cut spending.
yeah, you know, it's not that they don't collect enough revenue,
Right.
right? They
It's
collect more taxes than they ever collect. They just spend too much. I mean, they're like
yeah.
drunken sailors on leave, you
Yeah.
know, and they spend their whole paycheck before they get back to the boat, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, so savings is the number one thing. Second is not budgeting. So a lot of our clients they say, well, the concept was, well, when I get to retirement, I'm going to spend less on a daily basis, right? No, you got
Every day's a Saturday.
6 Saturdays and the Sundays, I
Yeah.
say, right? So, I mean, generally, when you were working 5 days a week, you were making money 5 days a week. You weren't spending it. Maybe you went out to eat once in a while, but 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, you were making money. You weren't spending it.
Right.
When you're in retirement, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to golf, you're going to boat, you're going to, here we have Lake Erie. A lot of people do boating. We have golf. We get all kinds of stuff you're going to do in retirement. Maybe you want to go somewhere warm for a few months when you retire. So you
Right.
have to budget all that in. So, and it's expensive. So like,
So
we have a lot of clients who go to Florida for 1, 2
sure.
months out of the year, and you probably do there in Minnesota too.
Yep.
You want to get out of the cold when you're
Snowbirds, we
retired.
call them.
Yeah, but that's a budget item, right? It might be $5,000-$10,000 a month, right? If you really want to
Yep.
go, so you have to be able to afford that. And if you didn't start early enough and you don't have enough money, you're going to be sitting in Minneapolis, Minnesota when it's -30, right?
Yikes. Yeah.
Another one we saw is taking. We talked about Social Security and other programs. There's a lot of calculations going. When's the perfect time to take it? There's really no perfect time, but based on your situation and your health and your longevity, we have some proprietary software that runs the numbers for us and tells us, husband should take it at this age, wife should take it at that age, but generally, two rules of thumb there. One is taking it too early is probably never, unless you have poor health or you
Right.
hate your job or
Yeah.
like you just
If
don't
you
have it.
absolutely can't afford not to take
Yeah,
it,
right.
or you have bad health are really the only 2 reasons,
Yeah.
right?
So people are
To
either
take it early because 'cause you're taking a huge hit.
yeah, they either hate their job or they just don't have any money and they have
Right.
no alternative. So
But yet
generally,
most people take it early,
yeah. So
and that's a big mistake.
when you're 62, you only get 75% of what you would get at your full retirement age. So Tony, our full retirement age is 67.
Yep.
So, once you get full retirement age, you're getting 100% of what the government said you're entitled to. And if you wait every year, it goes up by 8%. So a lot of people say, well, why don't I just wait till 70? So the difference between 67 and 70 is 36 paychecks, right? So
Right.
you may be getting them the higher monthly amount, but you're losing a lot of checks. So,
Yeah.
so that's what all the calculations go into. And there's never, the ideal. It's generally what we do is we run the Social Security maximization report for people, and it tells them this is the optimal one, this is next best. Not all the time they do what's optimal, but at least they have the information at their
Yeah, you know
fingertips.
where the sweet spot
Yeah,
is, where if you wait a certain point, that's where you'll make more money. Or if you live to a certain age, this is when you want to file
Yeah,
based on that. And everybody's situation is different. None of us know how long we'll live,
right.
but those actuary tables are actually
Yeah, and
they're pretty
people
close.
are living longer. I think
Yep.
eventually, look, if it was up to me, which is not, right?
Right.
But if it was up to me, everybody gets Social Security when you get Medicare.
Yeah.
65, done, no playing games. You
Yeah.
get Social Security, you get Medicare.
No
Done.
rolling up, no
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Just
So
65 is everybody's full retirement age. You get
yeah,
Social Security
or
and
whatever
Medicare.
whatever the number is, it just
Yeah.
whether it's gonna be 65, 67, whatever it is, it
Yeah.
just seems the other thing I think is, uh, let's say criminal is probably the wrong word, but I think it should be inheritable, or at least you should be at least collect for 10 years or something. And if you haven't collected for 10 years, then somebody else in your family or loved ones can collect the remaining part of it. Because look at how many people that are single that die early.
Mhm.
The government keeps all the money. They don't give
Yeah.
it to anybody. Like you
No.
can't get, even if you're, your children, or you don't have any children, you can't give it to a friend. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
it's not the best of systems. It is a system, but then again, it wasn't designed for this to be your only source of retirement. This was
Right.
supposed to
It
be
was never.
supplemental to what
Yes.
you saved on your own, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to take a good look at budgeting. You know, maybe you don't get the Mercedes, right? There's not wrong with a Ford, right? So if cars are expensive. I don't care, and pickup trucks. What's up with pickup trucks that are 80, 100 grand? Like half the truck's empty. so
Right.
so
Right.
so, but can you can you get by driving a $30,000 car instead of a $130,000 car? There's $100,000
Sure.
you have more in retirement, right?
You
So
can. You can.
yeah, Tony, you still have that electric car?
I have a Volt, which is half gas, half electric.
Is it plug-in or is it hybrid?
It's a plug-in, but it
Okay.
also has gas. The Volt, and they stopped making them. They were the most popular, highly rated GM car ever made. I've had 0 problems with it, but they stopped making them because everybody wants SUVs and trucks. I like it because I rarely have to fill up with gas if you just use it to commute,
Yeah.
but it does take gas. It's not full electric
Okay.
where you go 200 miles and then you're stuck, right?
So yeah, my
So,
wife, we got her a hybrid, a Honda, so
yeah.
it's gas and electric,
Yep.
but it's not a plug-in.
Yeah.
So
Mine's a plug-in. Yep.
didn't you have a different one before? Did you
Nope,
have
I've
a
always had a Volt.
okay?
Yep.
There's one called the Bolt now, but
Yep.
anyhow,
Yeah, that's full electric, and I'm not ready for that yet,
yeah,
so
I don't think the country's ready for that, even though
oh,
they're
our
pushing.
electric grid, if everybody went over to electric vehicles like they say, our electric grid can't handle it for
Yeah,
one thing right
that
yet.
reminds me when they built the new state. Well, it's not new anymore. It's 20 some years old.
Yeah.
They built this new stadium in Cleveland for the Browns, right? So they
Yeah.
had this toilet flushing test, like flush all the toilets at one time, right? And it flooded the place, right? So that
Right.
it's kind of like if we were all on electric cars, there's not
Yes.
not enough electricity to.
Nope. Nope, it would crash the grid, and they know it.
Yeah.
So,
Um, okay, so not saving enough, not budgeting, taking Social Security too early or too late. Another one is taking too little risk in the market or too much risk in the market.
mm,
So
yeah.
most of the time when people come to see us, um, and it's not that they did anything wrong. It's just this is how they invested while they were, I call it growing up, right? You by the time they come to us in retirement, they're probably taking too much risk, right? So, and it was okay when you were younger, like it's going to recover. We need to build, 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 build. But once you get to a point, you're just like, okay, I don't want to, I don't want to lose half of what I get if we have a market correction, as they call it nowadays. So, but then again, you can't just park everything in a CD because that's not going to keep pace with inflation, right? So there's some happy medium between the two of having too much money in the market and too little money in the market. So those are things that we look at. Um, we talk about risk questionnaires. One of the first things we do, especially for compliance reasons too, is we have people do this we call color money. So it gives us a gauge on 0 to 100 on a risk scale. Where are you? You're a 53. Okay, so we shouldn't invest you like you're a 90. So what happens a lot of times, we people come and do that report, and then we show them where they're at in the market, and they're like 85, 15. And they're like, "Well, I didn't know I did." Look, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just this is what happened as you were
Sure.
accumulating assets over the
Yeah.
years. So,
In fact,
may
a lot of people are all in red,
yeah,
100% at risk because they have all their money in the market for retirement.
yeah. So that
And yeah,
yeah, so we want to back some of that down, or maybe
yeah,
it's the other way around. You don't have enough in because maybe you got burned in the market one time and you don't want to go back in. But there's so many products out there now that give you some type of buffer from 0% to 100% to even what we call dual directional, that you could actually make money on the way down. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, probably have been created in the last half a dozen years or so that weren't out there before, and a lot
right.
of people don't know how that they're out there. Unless you like, if I didn't do what I do for a living, I wouldn't have known these products existed.
Yeah,
So
same,
so
same.
if you if you want to talk about those, we have some that kind of cool that they're called dual directional. So you could actually make money when the market's going down,
Yeah,
or
those
if
are
the market goes
incredible.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, you're not gonna get obscenely rich doing it, but it's a hedge. You need some hedge. I think the people are too conservative are the people that are so concerned that the market's going to drop, and I'm not working anymore, so I'm not putting anything more into the pot. So I don't really want to risk it. So I'm going to put it all in the bank. And then the banks up until the last couple of years, they've been paying nothing, right?
right.
Literally nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and inflation always is going to go up. So you have to at least keep pace with inflation.
Right, you have to have
Uh,
enough growth even in retirement to keep up with inflation, and to get that balance right, you need to work with a financial professional who's gonna look out for your best interest based on your personal situation, and Chris, I know that's what you do for your clients, and you've got a great team there at Brookside Tax.
Thank you. So, and we're fiduciaries, which means you've seen those commercials. We do better when our clients do better.
Yes.
I'm sure they're clearly different, but anyhow,
Yeah,
so the difference is if you're working with someone who just makes money on a commission basis,
yeah.
why did they trade the stocks or mutual funds that month? Did the analytics really say to trade, or was there mortgage payment due? You don't know, right? So,
Right,
so
that's
when
the
you
problem.
So when you're working with fiduciary, doesn't the money that we have invested in the people in the market, we just charge a flat fee. So there's no incentive for us to buy the red one versus the blue one because the blue one pays us more than the red one. So
Right.
that head trash is out of the way. So so try and work with a fiduciary who's again, we'll make more money. If your accounts go up, we make a little more money. Your accounts go down, we make less, right? So
Yeah,
you really want to be on with someone that
yeah.
does. Um, the other ones that people isn't on my list here, but it's healthcare. I mean, healthcare is. I don't understand the richest country in the nation that we don't have the best healthcare system. Now, I
I would
I
agree. I
don't
would
think we
agree.
should just have governmental healthcare because every country that's done hasn't really worked well, and but it's expensive. People don't realize, like, once you turn 65, you're paying for your own health insurance one way or the other. So you're either going to get traditional Medicare and then most likely get a supplement to fill in the gaps. That's another thing. I understand the reason why there's a gap because all the insurance companies, right? But if they're already covering 80% of everything, I'm like, just charge everybody another $150 a month and cover everything. We don't need all these
Right.
these Medigap policies, but the
Yeah.
insurance companies are just clamoring for that business. And then the other types of plans, the advantage plans that you hear every see on TV, JJ Walker and Joe Namath and all those. Now those work for some people well because a lot of times they'll be free. Like there's no deductible. So what
Yeah, a
happens?
lot of Advantage plans don't have they're free. They don't have a, premium.
And if you don't travel, like my mom, she doesn't travel 5 miles from her house, right?
Right.
So if you're not going to be outside the network, then that might work fine for you. So we have Tony here and Jeff do our Medicare plans, and they'll go over them with you. And sometimes the Medicare Advantage plans is fine, right? So people are like, well, how do they do it? So what happens with the Medicare Advantage plans is Medicare. Let's say you're on Medicare, Tony. You're not, but say you're on Medicare and you want to get a
Yeah.
Medicare Advantage plan.
Sure.
So Medicare gives the insurance company Tony's allotment of money for the year, and then they say, okay, Tony's on you. Like for the
Yeah.
next year, Tony's on you. So if he has a good year, you win. If he has a bad year, you lose.
So the government isn't paying for me, the insurance company is, but they're getting paid by
They're getting paid from the government.
yeah.
So the government gives them the money. Now, so the insurance companies, look, if they get enough of this money, it's just, typical insurance. You insured 3 million houses and 2 burned down, you're good.
Yeah.
So if they could get enough of the people from the Medicare system into their plan and actuarially it all works out, they make money. And capitalistically, you kind of want that because everyone's going to be competing for the same dollar. So it should keep the cost of any product with capitalism should keep it at a low, right?
Right.
Um, if you have it purely governmental, there's no checks and balances. Capitalism does play a part. Like in Mexico, um, all the gas stations are owned by the Mexican government. So the gas is whatever it is, and sometimes it's the same everywhere. But competition has no play on whether gas is two
Right.
dollars a gallon or $12 a gallon, right? So that and unfortunately, as you know, the government rarely does anything as efficiently as capitalism, right? Because capitalism, if you're not efficient, you go out of business, right? The government, if you're not efficient,
You print more money.
you print more money, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying we shouldn't have any governmental, but I do think like the one that gets us the most, and we do this planning is how can it be that long term care, nursing homes, assisted living, and stuff like that is not covered by our healthcare system? I just don't understand how someone who's 80 years old and has to go to a nursing home, who's paid in to the system for probably 65 years,
Yeah.
has no coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, what other, lack of a better word, investment would you put in money every month for 65 years? And when you need it the most, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
that's one thing I think they should fix. Now, look, they're going to say, well,
Yes.
we can't afford it. Well, then you're just going to have to charge more for when people are paying into Medicare throughout their working career. You're either going to have to charge more, take the limits off, or you could spend less money somewhere else. Like you don't have to spend $1 trillion on Mars, right?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
need to send some submarine to the bottom of the Mariana Trench to see if there's shrimp down there, right? So,
Yeah.
and I,
I
I, I,
love
lo- like I
I
love
love
watching
that.
those shows, but
Yeah.
like every time I watch them, like
Uh,
who's paying for this?
yeah, because it's outrageous. You that's what I think too, could because those explorations are very
'Cause-
expensive, and you're like, I mean, if there was any chance it could cure cancer, but I
Yeah,
don't think going to the bottom of the Mariana Trench is gonna
yeah.
cure
I remember
cancer.
we were in it's years ago. The kids were little. We were in Italy, and the only TV show that was in English at the hotel. I don't know. It was some nature channel or maybe CNN or something like that. And there was this oceanic vessel on there, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing, Tony?" And they said, "Well, we're cataloging every species in the ocean." And the guy's like, "What?" And like, first of all, how do you know when you got them all, right?
Yeah, you'll never
And,
get them all
right.
probably.
And then my question would have been, "Who's paying for this?" But anyhow,
Yes, that
it's
should have
just
been the next question.
this 20-30 million dollar vessel, right? And then the other question was, "Well, how long do you think it's going to take?" And the lady said, "Well, at the current pace, about 500 years." In 500 years, there's going to be more. There's going
Yeah.
to be more fish in the ocean, and some died off too. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
that's
at the
funny.
end, you're like, who's like stuff like that? Like if private money wants to pay for it, God bless them. But I
Yeah.
don't think our tax dollars should be doing that stuff, right?
Well,
So,
for sure. But you're right. I mean, a big retirement regret people have is not calculating in or saving enough for healthcare. I think a lot of people just assume Medicare is going to cover it.
yeah,
But I just read that. I mean, it goes up all the time. I think the average 65-year-old couple will end up spending in their total retirement years, if you live to at least 65, in your retirement, you're going to spend at least $200,000 to $300,000
oh,
on
yeah,
healthcare minimum, and that doesn't include long-term care.
yeah. So I mean, even
That's
just your typical
crazy.
Medicare, you're going to spend 3, 4, 5, $600 a month,
Yeah,
right?
because there's
Because you
still
get all the supplements.
premiums, there's still deductibles, there's still copays. People don't understand that.
So yeah, and so no one told them that before they retired, and they're like, "Well,
Right.
this is what's my retirement's going to be." But I'm like, you know, you're probably going to each spend $300 a month towards Medicare and your supplement. So you're
Yeah.
going to be on $600. Like $600 can be a house payment or two
Yeah.
car payments, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are kind of the big ones we see. I don't know
Sure.
if you I'm sure you listen to other advisors. Any other ones you think we missed?
Well, and I guess you covered it, but like, yeah, I think you got them all. Inflation, not saving early enough, inflation,
Yeah, inflation's kind
healthcare.
of budgeting. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, how can our listeners, if they have questions or want to get a plan in place so
yeah.
they can avoid these regrets that some people have when they get into retirement, how can they get a hold of you to set up that
Yes.
no
So you
charge
so you could either
consultation?
call us at 440-886-3550 or go to our website, brooksidetax.com. We have a calendarly system. You could set an appointment that way. You could call in and talk to our front desk, either Regina or Michelle or somebody will answer the phone and get on our calendar. Like it's just worth. We don't charge you to do it, so it's
Right,
just worth going through the exercise. You know, you know, do a little budget, bring a little budget in. This is how much we spend a month because when
right.
you put pen to paper, you're like, wow, we're spending 5 grand a month.
Yeah,
You know, and some people are like, we're spending 10 grand. I'm like, what are you spending 10 grand a month on? Yeah. So, but it's worth the exercise. Like if you're spending 10 grand a month and you got 15 coming in, so be it. But if you're
yeah,
spending 10 grand a month and you only got five coming in, you got some issues, right? So
yeah.
again,
You got a
four four
problem.
zero 886-3550. But we're out of time already. So that was
Yeah. Well, Chris, great show today. Again, listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Road to Retirement with our host, Chris Anselmo.
okay. See you next week.